We're getting spicy in the people to keep in your life and people to maybe not think about keeping in your life.
Some people are like branches. They're more sturdy than a leaf. They stick around for a while. They can grow over time. But the moment you need support and you step out on them, that branch breaks and you're left high and dry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell Podcast, the EcoPreneur's Edge edition, with my beautiful co-host, Mikey. Mikey, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, Nell. Thank you, as always, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. For those who don't know me, I'm Mikey with two E's. The two E's in my name stand for the environment and everyone, and the EcoPreneur's Edge. And
yes, and as we found out recently, the euphoric expert.
The euphoric expert. So I'm here to share my news and knowledge with everyone. What are we talking about today now?
Mikey, we're addressing a really important topic. Keeping within the theme of spicy season 4, we're getting spicy in the people to keep in your life and people to take out of your life topic, which that totally sounded wrong. People to maybe not think about keeping in your life. And there's a lot to unpack here because, we can talk about circles and things like that, and we can talk about anybody from financial advisor to have in your life to, a best friend. So it covers it's a broad topic. But Mikey, when you think about people to keep in your life, like what pops up first? What comes to mind?
Yeah, so like you said, lots to unpack here. For me personally, I am a tried and true mama's boy. So I have, other than 2 years following our wedding, where we didn't speak very often, my mom has been my biggest fan, supporter, advocate, friend, tough love, mentor, advisor. And so I make sure to call her once or twice a week, sometimes more. I make it a point to visit them. I try to at least once a year because my family's military. They do not live remotely close to me.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to, kind of put my mom on a pedestal. Now, beyond that, as, a person first, because I love making sure my personal life is in order before I get my entrepreneur or EcoPreneur's life in order. I love making sure that my spouse and I are on a great relationship footing. To keep in my life. And then I try to make time for, actually, let me dive into this a little. In my personal life, I had great friends who inspired me and showed me many different areas of life, if you will, broadened my horizons. One of my friends introduced Medea, Tyler Perry's Medea.
Oh, okay.
Into our life. It probably is I think I might have been 19 when I was introduced. They had been watching the tour of Tyler Perry's Medea plays that were recorded and then, distributed via DVD because I'm a dinosaur. So we watched this DVD. It was called Medea Goes to Jail. In Medea Goes to Jail, which was then turned into a full-length feature film. Yeah. In the play, it's so much better. I was given the best advice. People are like parts on a tree. And going into the people who I keep in my life, some people are like leaves. They're here. They're good for a season. The autumn comes around and the wind comes and they're blown away, never to be seen or heard from again.
That's good.
Some people are like branches. They're more sturdy than a leaf. They stick around for a while. They can grow over time. But the moment you need support and you step out on them, that branch breaks and you're left high and dry. But any tree, whether it's an evergreen, a sequoia, a maple, an oak, an elm, any tree is just going to have 3 or 4 really big roots. And those roots are the people who are going to be in our life for a long, long time. I just did a wedding in Vegas in May of 2025, and the bride was like, Mikey, I know you don't want to come to Vegas. Mikey, I know you don't like doing wedding hair. Mikey, I know we don't live near each other anymore, and we haven't fallen out of contact, but like, we're both busy living. You are one of my roots. I need you to be in my wedding, and I need you to do my wedding hair. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to Vegas. Because those are the people I need to keep in my life. What do you think about that now?
Mikey, if you told me we were doing like a quickie episode, like that's where I would end it. Like that's what we need to hear. And that's what we need to think about. I mean, that analogy is perfection, because if you think about the roots of the tree and the trunk, there's one trunk, Mikey. That trunk is you. And those roots are what's supporting it and giving nutrients to you. And then anything above that, like you said, the branches, the leaves, things like that, that's what it is, truthfully. And it's so well put. And I love that you understand that. I love that you know that. I love that you have people in your life that know that. And this has been a constant journey that I've been on, and more recently, in recent years, I should say, understanding who those roots are and putting people into boxes, because quite honestly, that's what you have to do. You get so blinded when maybe you're in a relationship that's maybe a little toxic and you don't know it because you've been friends with that person for 15 years. It doesn't matter to me. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be acquaintances. Now I'm of the mindset that if I know now I've discovered the toxicity, they gotta go. They gotta go because they are depleting those nutrients.
I would love to dive into that a little bit, but I need to just make sure that everyone is aware with my analogy that it is okay for people to be a leaf.
Oh, yes.
It is okay for people to be a branch.
Yes.
It is okay for people to, the good ones, the people who deserve to be there. It is okay for them to be a root.
Sure.
But on the flip side, it is okay for me to be a leaf. I don't owe everyone a root relationship when I'm only meant to be here for a certain amount of time. And then it's time to blow off into the wind and find a different, person.
Yes.
In professional life, EcoPreneurship, entrepreneurship, saying no was so hard to me. And I had to get into the point where I got myself into a lot of really bad situations because I was trying to be a root for everyone in a business sense when I just should have been a leaf. We can work together, we can have a great thing, and then we can part ways. And realizing that in my personal life, how I treat people like a root, a branch, or a leaf, I can do the same thing in my professional life. And on top of that, it is okay to do that. And on top of that, it is preferred to do that. Like, write a contract, we're working together for 2 weeks and then we're done. Beautiful. Best 2 weeks of all party involves life. It's when you turn that 2-week contract into like, okay, the contract's over, but let's keep going. And what is this going to do? And how are we going to do that? And like, okay, now it's 10 years and we resent each other. And like what could have been a beautiful 2 weeks has turned into an abysmal 2 decades.
Yikes. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It is. And going back to when, it's okay, when you mentioned it's okay to be a leaf, it's okay to be a branch. Absolutely. We need that. We need that diversity, excuse me, in our lives. And on the flip side, we can be those things as well, because we don't have to be, we don't have the capacity as humans to be roots for everyone. It's just not the way it is. How do you feel about the people, and keeping within the tree analogy, how do you feel about people that come into your life for a season, leave for a few more seasons, and then come back in.
I have had that happen more over the last 2 years than ever in my life. And I'm okay with it. I know that we've spoken many times on the Ecopreneur's Edge about effective communication. Mm-hmm. And I know that effective communication is not always what people want to hear. Mm-hmm. I love using my I statements. I want to work together for 2 weeks. I love telling people no. I love this idea. It's not going to work for me. And I have found that using effective communication and being self-aware and accountable, knowing what I want and how I want to get there, has, in the moment or for a short period of time, made people not want to work with me. And that's okay, because in the manner in which they wanted to work, I didn't want to work that way.
Sure.
A lot
and that's
of people,
okay too.
It is A-okay. I'm not here to tell anyone how to live. I'm just here to tell you what I want, what I need, what I think, what I believe, and what I feel. And if we're compatible, beautiful. If not, I'll probably see you later on. When a lot of people realize that, oh, Mikee did know what he was talking about. Mikee is a good influence. Mikee is a good role model. Mikee's been consistent for 15 years in his industry. Mikee, and people will be like, hi, Mikee. Hey, girl, how are you? Because when I use that, I don't build resentment. I know that we weren't compatible now. So, hey, Mikee. Hey, girl, how are you? I know that we, had some things in the past, but I would love to work together now. I'm like, oh, perfect. That's great. I would love that too. And so I don't want to say people always come crawling back, but
yeah,
it is okay for me because I did my part in the situation. So then I can go into it, season 2 mm-hmm. or, whatever we're calling that. I can go into that with a fresh head, a fresh face, a fresh mind, without bringing a whole bunch of extra baggage that festered in that time.
Sure. And the experience that you've gained over that time apart also plays a part in that too, because you are not the same person then that you were when the original opportunity came around. So all of that, the eras, thank you, Taylor Swift, for that term, the eras that we're in, the experience that we've gained, the knowledge that we've acquired, all of that plays into it. And I'll say, I think that we've experienced this maybe a couple of times, and we'll see if I'm right about this. I don't know. I don't claim to be, oh, they've gone away. They'll figure out that I'm right all the time. I'm not, I don't claim that. But, we had, I guess, a few sets of friends with kids or young kids and things like that. I always think oh, we're not really close anymore because, so-and-so has kids and we just don't have the same goals, we don't have the same interests anymore, and that faded out because we're not on that level. I kind of believe that maybe in so many years when said kids are out of the houses and there's more time for the couples to focus on each other, that maybe they'll come back around and be like, hey, you guys busy? 18 years flies by. And we just had this conversation. It can still feel like yesterday you were hanging out, and then 18 years later you can send a text, if we're still texting, in that era of society. Hey, you guys busy? We actually have a free weekend because we don't have kids to really not be responsible for, but have to focus or worry about in the same way that we had to before. And I don't know how I feel about that because it's kind of, I get that people need to do what they need to do best for their families and at that point. But to me, it feels like an afterthought. That's who we are now. So I'm good enough for you when you come back out of your kid zone or whatever. But we evolve as humans. And even if things didn't work out the first time, there's always that opportunity the next time, or vice versa. So it's all just very interesting. But I'm glad you mentioned your mom. I love that she's one of your biggest supporters. My parents have always been very supportive. My family is just strange. Like, we don't talk every day or anything like that. We just have a very different dynamic. But my friends have become like my roots in my life, especially recently. Make a huge change in your life, you'll find out very quickly who's on your side, who's not, who wants you to fail, who doesn't, who only wants to be a leaf. Like, you will find out very quickly what parts of the tree those people are fulfilling. So, that happens when you make huge changes.
I think going with the nature analogy, those, I think it's called fair weather friends. Because they want to be here, they want to be in the limelight, they want to be, in the mix when things are going well. Mm-hmm. But again, the wind blows a different direction and they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... Go ahead.
But that almost leads me right into I think I love talking about all the qualities that I love. Because if I talk about them and I think about them, I just truly believe that it puts that energy radiating from waves from my brain out into the universe, and it bounces off of other things. So I love talking about positive qualities like loyalty, trust, friendship, kindness, caring, willingness, open-mindedness, honesty. I love talking about that because I feel like my energy just goes out and it attracts that to me. However, it is very, very good to be self-aware about what we would deem toxic in terms of personal relationships and professional relationships. So now give me a list of things that are toxic behaviors that you have drawn hard boundary and will not allow in your life.
One of them I can very honestly say is talking shit on people all the time. There were a couple of relationships that I've had in the past with people where and I didn't know it because I was so ingrained in the time. That's what our friendship was almost based on, is that every time we got together, it would be, oh my gosh, did you hear about this person and what they did? Did you see what they were wearing the other day? And all of the negative things based around people that I guess we either were having a moment with or didn't like or something like that. And that builds this toxic environment when we're just talking negatively about people. And it's terrible because there were even times when I thought, how would I feel if somebody was doing this about me? And it's not uplifting. There's so much going on in this world that I really feel like we need to be championing each other. Did I say that right? When people lose their way on their path. Here's the other thing, is toxic advice. When people lose their way, I think it's a natural human inclination to give advice and say, hey, have you thought about doing this? What if you tried this? What about, well, this is what I would do. Or, oh, this was my experience, so I would recommend this. I think we need to get maybe a little more involved with saying, do you want some advice? Are you open to that? Because I've experienced this. I could maybe help you, but if you're not open to that, that's okay. And I'll provide an ear, but I will not give you the advice. That's, I think, something that we really need to focus on. So basically toxic advice is, giving somebody something to think about or be overwhelmed about when they're not looking for that. So there's that. And then I would mention one other thing is, even if somebody, a close person, doesn't agree with something that you're doing, basically giving an opinion about it up front rather than saying, or a negative opinion about it up front, rather than saying, you know what, I support you and I support that you know what is best for you. And I'm excited to see your journey, unless you feel incredibly strongly that that person is maybe in harm's way. Those are a few things that come to the top of my head.
Gossip is such a good one.
Gossip is so detrimental.
I think that there's a societal expectation now to gossip, which makes it even, and like, luckily for me, I work in a very catty industry. um, People have come into my life and, it just immediately want to badmouth somebody. And I say, look, our consultation is going to be amazing. What we're going to talk about is what you love about your hair, because I'm going to use that and accentuate it. If you want to share one or two things that you don't like about your hair, that's great. But there's enough negativity in my industry, I'm not going to add to it by bad-mouthing another salon or bad-mouthing a stylist, or, I going on top of the advice monster thing. That's what I call it. I have spent a lot of my life with pretty healthy self-esteem and a pretty good head on my shoulder and making good choices. And I have lots of experience to share. My advice monster used to hop out of my pocket and word vomit on everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And so now I usually go with, I'm not going to gossip. And I will usually start the conversation about, am I listening to listen, or am I listening to respond? Am I a vent? Like a punching bag? Do we just need to get the feelings out and I'll just be over here blow drying? Or is there advice that I can give? And if we're listening for me to respond, then I will, be like, I can share what I would do if you're open to hearing. And that, I know that there has been an episode in the EcoPreneur's Edge about consent is sexy. And consent is not only for things in Spicy Season 4. Sometimes we need to put our little advice monster back in our pocket because people do not want to hear what we have to say. And that's okay. One day they might come back and be like, hey, Mikey. And I'll be like, hey, girl, you want to work together now?
Yeah.
But until that happens, it's not my job to tell people how to live.
No, I 100% agree. And people just may not be in a space where they're open to that. And look, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I definitely fall back into these traps for sure. And look, I have really changed the way that I operate when I approach friendships now. As far as, the gossip thing. Once I realized that that was a basis for friendship, or I was like, okay, we're not approaching this, but I'm not saying that we're not going to sit there, close friend and I are going to be like, all right, who can we talk shit about today? Because you know what, this is how we're feeling and this is the space that we're in. And I need to tell you this thing that I heard, that happens. And fortunately it doesn't happen very often, because that will start affecting when you create a pattern. And I was also reminded recently, a close friend had gone through a situation. It's not losing their way or anything like that. That's really what I want to focus on. But I found myself basically word vomiting and giving an experience from a past experience where that's not what they wanted to hear at that point. That's not what they needed to hear. And I fell off the tracks, and I was reminded that that's not what that person was looking for. And I was like, shit, you know what? You're right. I don't know where that came from. I think my headspace was just like, sometimes we just are in those headspaces where we forget. There's a lapse in judgment. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee or too much coffee that day. Maybe that's why I was word vomiting. I have no idea. It happened. But I was reminded so I can get back on track. And that's, it's not about being perfect. It's about creating habits that last. And I think if we can get on the paths of, getting that gossip out, making sure that people are open to hearing if they want a shared experience or advice, then we can provide that. I also realized that I had a relationship built on, people were always asking about work. And actually, something came to me this morning. It's interesting. We always talked about work. And whenever I had something negative to say about work, that's when we would have conversations. And after I made this change, I noticed the conversations started changing very quickly. They no longer asked me about work. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I don't have anything negative to share. And it's interesting how these people that I thought were so great in my life, they were always interested about what I did for income. They were never interested about what I did for happiness. And so I think if you have relationships like that in your life, you need to really think hard about that.
So 2 things. I love this, list of toxic behaviors because it does 2 things. It showcases the healthy boundaries that we draw in our life. And it also reminds us to be aware and accountable of when we are, like you, in that headspace. When we are exhibiting those toxic traits, we have the power to immediately stop and immediately change. And, I will never say that I don't want somebody in my life, but I will draw a boundary until my needs and wants and rights are respected.
Good for you. I love that.
And then going on top of the work, the work versus happiness and things. Nell, I will tell you, I am so blessed to have an amazing family circle, social circle, friend circle, and professional circle. But damn, it is easy to have transactional relationships.
Yeah.
So when it comes to intrapersonal, like friendships, relationships, acquaintanceships, and all that stuff, it is so hard sometimes for me, with all the things that I'm doing as an EcoPreneur, to be interested in what other people are saying. If we're not aligned.
Right.
If you're paying me, my awareness and my interest is honed in. Like, it is there. I'm like, all right, we're going to shampoo you with the best stuff available. Now, granted, I have the best of both worlds because I am truly interested and invested in almost all of my clients, like, if not all of my clients. But, like, dang, I can pay attention better when we're talking about the Kardashians than I could if I wasn't being paid. So there is something to be said about building, like, relationships on work, professionalism, transactionality,
yes. 100%.
And stuff like that.
Yes, and I 100% agree with that. What I don't love is the false, like, you thought something was one way and then it turns into that way without consent from both parties. If you can actually be a mature adult and say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling. I don't have the capacity to basically contribute to our relationship as I have been doing, because I'm feeling very one-sided, or, I think these are important conversations to have. So I think everybody needs to be aligned and on the same page. But yes, I have transactional relationships are very important. They're very important to our lives and businesses and how we thrive. So thank you for mentioning that, because I don't want people to take away from this episode like, oh, she can't have, that's not what I'm putting out there. I'm thinking about close people in my life. And I'm not saying that, like, clients can't become clients. I have one of my best friends is a client. I have business relationships that have developed into much closer personal relationships. And I'm so thankful for that, because at first, it's transactional, I guess. And then it just blossoms into this beautiful thing. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things too, is when relationships can evolve into something that both people are so vested in and so aligned with. I think that's really cool. I don't know.
I have to agree. So we've covered, people to keep in our personal life, behaviors to keep in our life. Now let's talk about professional people
to
keep in our life. So
Let's
like
do that.
what are like obviously I always love to go around my wheel of life and find, a mentor or a coach or professional. So I would love, to have a physical health role model, a mental health role model. I love and admire my business coach. So like anyone who doesn't have a business coach, I would recommend getting it. If that business coach doesn't light you on fire, shop around. There are
Yeah.
more. Like, trust me, in 2025, there are plenty of business coaches,
Hmm.
many of whom I would not subscribe or ascribe to.
For sure. For
Um,
sure.
so there are plenty, just like a therapist.
Yeah.
Get a
Yeah.
therapist. If they don't do what you want, like go in, have an open. Okay, let me get off my pedestal for a second. A therapist is there to work in your mind. My job is to work on your head. Their job is to work in your head. If they are not clear immediately, like what are our mental health goals? How are we going to get you from, point point A to point B to point C, A being the past, B being the present, C being the future, shop around. Just like you can get a new hairdresser,
For sure.
just like you can get a new video editor, you can get a new therapist.
Exactly.
Financial, advisors and financial coaches are always going to be amazing. And something as a life coach myself for a very minimal number of clients, the hardest thing for me to help guide people into, and why I love the episode that we did, is a spiritual advisor.
Mm.
So that is something who's going to make you mindful, present, energetically aware. And, depending on dogma, denomination, religion, whatever that spiritual advisor looks like for you, they can help get you to those metaphysical goals that might not be as easy as setting as a financial or a physical goal, but like are going to be just as important. So like those are some of the like professional people I would want to keep in my life. What about you now?
Yeah, I agree. Probably should agree more with some of the spiritual business coach, but my experiences have definitely shaped how I have approached those types of professionals in my life, which I'm still working on, to be fully transparent. I think for sure you need some type of financial advisor, even if it's not an actual financial advisor, somebody that you really lean on and trust implicitly for help in that realm. I for sure agree with that. I also think a good lawyer is somebody that you might want to have in your life as well for things that arise. And, I'm only learning that recently, So, I'm not saying that, at 21 years old, you need to have all of these buttoned up. You'll figure out who those people can be on your journey. I think a good hairdresser is definitely one of them for sure. I mean, my gosh, Mikey, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I didn't meet you through like hairdressing world. I have somebody who I love dearly who has been on this podcast. Hello, shout out Isaac. It's just, that's how I really feel, because if you're not feeling good about yourself, he makes me feel good about myself because I like my hair and I like how I look and I can present myself confidently when I'm in front of people. And which reminds me, I need to reschedule my appointment with him. But I also believe a massage therapist. I am a huge believer in massage. As somebody that has grown up with scoliosis, I don't believe that I would even be walking as well as I do without massage therapy. I wore a back brace from the age of 6 to 14. And then after that, it's up to me to take care of my physical health. So I've had a massage therapist for a very long time. I've gone to the same one for many, many years. He knows me. He understands me, gets my pain points. And, I think that's such a valuable relationship to have. So, oh my goodness. I'm trying to think, there's so many other people that I would want in my life professionally too, that I feel like I'm only now just discovering, honestly.
Yeah, I have some, great politicians or government workers
Sure.
in my life that I love. I don't necessarily, I feel like I love to understand policy.
Hmm.
They make the rules, I just follow them. So, like, there have been times in my career where it's like, I don't understand what this code about a historic building in Harrisburg means.
Sure.
How do I have appropriate signage? So like
Yeah.
having people in a governmental organization has really helped me uh, thrive
Hmm.
and be aware of my community as well.
Hmm. Oh,
And
I love
then
that.
on top of that, it's just like picking like like as a sustainable, eco-friendly advocate, I love having sustainable and eco-friendly mentors and advisors in my own corner. So
Yes.
it's like I want this broad blanket terms of professional people in my life, and then I can niche down and figure out where I want to go in that professional realm. Once I have the basics, what kind of point do I want at the top of that pyramid?
Yes. I completely agree. And I think this could, go bridge between personal and professional life. I think it's really important to have people in your life who are people that you want to become and model lifestyle things or behaviors after. I think it's really important to, if you are open to taking advice from people that have been where you want to go, not, people that just have opinions. I think that's so, so important. We take so much advice and follow so many people that are, just spewing words, and because we want to look like them or something, or just artificially connecting with. And if we could all just focus on having people in our lives that we respect and want to become, even, is really important, instead of the people that maybe we don't want to become.
Great points. Uh, you know, People sustainability, if you
Hmm.
will.
Yeah.
I just got the chills now because while I was listening, I was also thinking about like the implications of AI and
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk right now in business and entrepreneur communities about agentic artificial intelligence.
Tell me more.
So what we're trying to do in the realm of AI now is, and a lot of the companies are kind of hopping on it, is giving you your your dream Siri, your your Siri who knows what your pizza order is, so you can just say, "Hey, digital assistant, order pizza," and they know based on your patterns which whether you want Domino's or Papa John's. Not that we eat that, but like
No, right.
so it's going to say, "Oh, order me toilet paper," and it's
Mhm.
going to know what
Which
brand
one?
and which, do you use DoorDash? Do you use Amazon? Do you use Instacart? So that is agentic artificial intelligence. And when we start going to these agents, then who will we need in our life? And what kind of horrendous advice is going to come in the
Oh
start?
no.
Because it'll be like, "Hey, agent AI bot, what do I need to do to hang a sign in my new business in downtown Harrisburg?" And it might
Yeah.
not know.
Oh man, Mikey, it's interesting. Last night, so I use an Amazon Alexa. I'm just trying not to say her name so much so she wakes up.
I saw mine wake
Yeah.
up and I was like, "Oh no."
I use that for an alarm in the morning. And last night, when I was setting the alarm, she asked me if I wanted to upgrade to Amazon Plus for free because I have a Prime membership. And I was like, what's that? So I started diving a little deeper into it. And I found out that basically, so she's changed her voice. She's like a new person. She can intuitively, pick up from conversations. She can talk to you more like a human. She can order you an Uber. She can order you, or she can set up a reservation at a restaurant through OpenTable. These agentic AI capabilities are coming to fruition. And at some point, you are going to be able to add to your cart toilet paper and she's going to know exactly which one. Now, I wonder if you just word it a little differently now, like, hey, add the Charmin that I bought last time to the cart, that if she'll do that. But I think we're getting closer to a point where we just say, hey, order the toilet paper.
And not to change the subject, but I'm going to a little, this is the importance of building brand, because when hey, agentic AI, schedule me a haircut. Which online booking platform is your AI gonna book at? So there's a lot to be said about the sustainability of entrepreneurship coming with agentic AI in the future.
Oh, I smell another episode topic, Mikey.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to wrap this one up, I think, here. Are there final thoughts, Mikey? Anything that you wish that we would have covered that maybe we need to touch on before we wrap up?
Let me think for a second, because I do believe we did this topic a lot of diligence.
Yeah.
And I think that I would have more thoughts if people asked me specific and pointed questions.
Good point.
So if anyone is, hesitant about people in their life or would love guidance on, how to add new people to their life, leave a question in the rating and reviews, leave it on YouTube, all the fun things, because I can give general advice, but this topic is so person to person specific that I would need to know a little bit more details to really dive into anything more than we already did.
Yeah, I agree. This is something that, if you're listening to this, have some sort of open mind to hearing what we have to say about our thoughts on people in your life. And so we would love for people to expand on that. If you've got a certain situation or something that maybe you feel like you're missing a type of person in your life, you would love to know how to attract that or something, if we can be of help, we're here. We're always here. We love hearing from our community and our listeners and our viewers. And so thank you for encouraging people to do that, Mikey. We obviously want to engage and interact with as many of you as possible. So Mikey, thank you for being here again, as always. And, Spicy Season 4, here we are. So thank you all for watching on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with all of your friends. And if you're listening, of course, please leave us a review. We would love, love, love that. And so stay tuned. More exciting content to come here on the Ecopreneur's Edge and the What the Nell podcast. And as always, we will catch you on the next one.